During this summer's war with Hezbollah, an Israeli patrol under Colonel Efroni is headed for the place on the northern border where the Lebanese militia first crossed into Israel in July.
Right, let's go now.
This road separates Israel from Lebanon. It has become the front line in the conflict.
Right, that's where the war started, here. Okay, exactly in this place where the Hezbollah kidnapped the soldiers.
Hezbollah's militants allegedly have support from Iran. The colonel is looking for clues that they're directly involved.
Piece of the one of the mortar that was shot here when the kidnapping took place. That's a 120mm shell made in Iran.
But to Israel, Iran poses an even more deadly threat. Its president calls publicly for the elimination of what he terms the Zionist regime.
I believe him because he's building the weapons for this extermination. And everything that we know says that if he can get away with it, he'll do it.
Iran is the only member of the United Nations that threatens publicly to destroy another member of the United Nations. It's a call for genocide.
Israel's military and political leaders are convinced that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. This is the inside story of their thinking on how and when to deal with that threat.
Once a leader like Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is repeating again and again the intention of how he's going to use such a nuke bomb, we cannot wait and count the days until it will happen.
On July the 12th, within hours of a kidnap raid by Hezbollah soldiers, Israel launches airstrikes into southern Lebanon. Hezbollah fires dozens of Katyusha rockets across the border into Israeli towns. Casualties on both sides are severe, and the conflict escalates into all-out war.
Right now, Israelis feel under attack. Katyusha rockets fired by Hezbollah have been landing here in northern Israel and in other towns. And Israel's message to Hezbollah, to those firing the rockets, will be this: Israel will go after its enemies, no matter what the consequences.
The international community criticizes Israel's airstrikes for being disproportionate and causing heavy casualties in civilian areas.
I would say that this seems to me an excessive use of force in an area with so many civilians.
If it's an excessive use of force, that makes it a war crime.
It makes it a violation of humanitarian law.
Hezbollah is accused by Amnesty International of breaching humanitarian law by deliberately targeting civilians. Israel claims that behind the scenes, Iran is actively supplying the militants.
We consider them as a long arm of the Iranians. They have 14,000 rockets that are threatening Israel, and they are supporting terror.
Israel's troops repeatedly find evidence of what they say is Iran's involvement. Inside an abandoned Hezbollah bunker, Iranian pictures are on display alongside the group's own leaders. Throughout the fighting, Colonel Efroni claims Iran's fingerprints have been visible around Hezbollah.
What we found during the fighting, a lot of ammunition and anti-tank missiles that come from Iran. New ammunition, not something that you got 20 years ago. Fresh missiles made in 2004, 2002. Someone have to bring them to Hezbollah. It's not something that you can buy in the market. It's not something that you can buy off the counter. There's a cooperation between the two, Iran and Hezbollah, and you can see it everywhere.
Israel's armed forces have publicly stated their aim to rid the border of militants.
I remember a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was standing here not far away, and just we saw face to face the Hezbollah. It's not going to be anymore. We're going to win this war. There's no way other. We're fighting for our home, and no one's going to stop us.
Despite its overwhelming military superiority, when the guns fall silent, Israel still cannot claim complete victory. In the wider Middle East, the celebrations of what is seen as Hezbollah's Islamic victory spread from Beirut to Cairo and Tehran. But in Israel, intelligence is emerging of what is perceived there as a far greater danger than Hezbollah. A few miles from Israel's beachfront, Arrow interceptor rockets stand ready to shield the country from incoming missiles. The launch system has recently been upgraded, and it can now deal with the possibility of nuclear warheads, potentially fired from Iran. Israel is incredibly guarded about its defense systems. This satellite control room is a high security area, which keeps constant watch over Israel's surveillance satellites. This is a rare view inside. For over a decade, Israel's military has been studying Iran's research sites. They are now convinced that under cover of its peaceful nuclear energy program, Iran is developing atomic weapons.
A month after I was elected, I said that the greatest threat we all face, not just Israel, but all of the free world, is a nuclear-armed Iran. This was 10 years ago. That warning fell at that time on all ears. The arming of Iran with atomic bombs, ayatollahs with atomic bombs, is a palpable threat to all of us.
Moshe Ya'alon is the former chief of staff of Israel's armed forces. He is rarely interviewed, but he believes Israel is facing such a serious threat from Iran that he's willing to speak out.
This Iranian regime is determined to have the indigenous know-how in terms of producing a nuclear bomb. We should prevent them the know-how. Otherwise, it will be up to them to decide when to produce or to use the bomb.
This country is obsessed with its own safety from attack. The army is part of every citizen's life, with Israel continually on guard against potentially hostile neighbors.
You sometimes feel very lonely. The chair of Prime Minister of Israel, I once talking to Clinton, compared it. I said that, you know, to one, America is like driving on a wide highway. To lead Israel is like walking on a rope, having to balance yourself with every slight mistake. You can slip down in irrevocable way.
Israel's history consists of wars with the Arab nations all around it. In the 1967 Six-Day War, it fought the armies of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Israel's overwhelming air power destroyed the Egyptian Air Force in a matter of hours. In Israel, it was regarded as a victory in a fight for survival they had to win.
We use the spirit, and we use another thing which maybe doesn't exist in any other air forces in the world, and we call it the no alternative. And when you don't have alternatives, you can achieve such achievements as we did in this war.
But even then, Israel was developing an alternative which could make it invulnerable in the Middle East. For the last 40 years, the state has been protected by its own nuclear arsenal, as many as 200 warheads according to the Carnegie Institute. Yet Israel has never resorted to using them.